Hi guys, Ben here with another bass review of mine. Got an ESP LTD F-1005, and I guess it's their deluxe series, as it says right there on the headstock too. It is currently one of their top of the line Korean made offerings, and it's really solid. And look at the gnarly shape of this thing, man. It's of course their F style that they've had around, I think, since the 90s, and never owned one before, but it's really cool. I thought it might have been a little too extreme for me, but it's grown on me. I really dig it. Construction wise, we've got a mahogany body with a quilt or flame maple top. It's a pretty subtle black cherry burst color, but in sunlight it really pops. It's really cool. The neck is 5-piece maple and purple heart, according to the website, with a Macassar ebony board, abalone dot inlays, matching very subtle figured maple veneer on the headstock, matching very subtly again that black cherry burst. Very cool LTD and mother of pearl, I think. Same with the deluxe logo right there. And I took the original Grover tuners off and put on some Gato, however you say it, Reso lights that produce some neck dive. I also changed out the black saddles on here to chrome. This is, of course, Hipshot's A-style bridge, and I believe this one's the brass model. Gives it better thickness, in my opinion. It adds some weight to the body, so there's not as much neck dive too. What else we got in here? Electronics wise, we have a full Fishman Fluent setup. I didn't realize how gnarly this system was until I tried this bass out, and it's definitely been a keeper. Basically the same shape as ESP's pickups, so it's not easy to change them out if you want. It's up to you. I think they sound great. They're not going anywhere. We've got, on the controls here, I put new knobs on. They were all black. We've got volume, push-pull. Get to that in a second. Blend knob between the two pickups. We've got treble, and we've got bass. And this is Fishman's 3-position, I think, contour, or it's their voicing switch. It's the default. No, I think this is the classic mode, maybe with more mid-range, what it sounds like to me. This is like a scooped funk tone in the middle, and then down is, I think, their full range tone. I don't know, maybe that's the classic tone. I'm not sure. You can help me out with that, but I say the top one is the classic one. It's got a nice grunt to it. Like I was saying, the push-pull volume pot, dual coil mode, full dual coils with both pickups, pull up, single coil mode. I think that's where the magic shines in this bass. We'll get to that in a bit. I've got Elixir nickel-plated steel strings on here, and of course in the back, real quick, you got your little battery compartment there, and your pots and everything in here. I love the location of the jack there. It doesn't get in the way when I'm sitting down, which is pretty nice, and it's kind of easy to route this cable if you're playing wired on stage. Pretty nice. Or with a wireless battery pack. Now, tone-wise, we'll start in single coil mode, because that's my favorite. We have everything flat. Both pickups, single coil mode. Wrong fret. I I landed on, but you get the idea. It's got a really nice hi-fi, grunty type sound to it. And I was saying I love that sound of this thing because, especially if you really crank the gain in single coil mode, you'll get a really nice, almost thicker Spectre tone. And I love the Spectre rock tone. It's a great sound. The early Alice in Chains albums, Queensryche albums, but more so Mike Starr's tone on like Facelift. What I like to do for that tone, like the opening track "We Die Young," that singled out Spectre sound is just really gnarly. I'll put it in single coil mode, of course. Pull up on the volume knob, single coil mode, and then I'll favor just a little bit of the bridge pickup to get a little bit more bite. A little bit crisper. I'll add some bass. Turn down the output a little here. This little Go mixer I use that doesn't have most headroom. So you might hear a little bit of distortion, but hopefully it'll be to a minimum. You can add treble to taste. This thing has so much oomph. It does. Once you push the volume, it really doesn't need much. But we can add some treble. As you can tell, I have some fret buzz here just because I have the strings really low. I like really low action. And the thing just crushes, man. It sounds freaking great. Sounds crushing, man, and that. It's a really nice grunty tone, and I've been really happy with it. I use this tone for my band, and it just what's you hear now is what goes into the recording console. It sounds the same. You don't need anything external pedal-wise, amps or whatever. You got your onboard EQ here, send it to the board through a direct box or whatever, and it sounds just like that. This is one of the few basses I've ever recorded with where I can do that. It's nice and simple. It sounds great. So it says a lot about how this bass is made. In single coil mode also, fret worked on because there's a touch of a high fret, especially with the low action I play with, but most of you guys, it shouldn't be a problem. And by the way, these are stainless frets. So there's your bridge pickup. Your bridge pickup. And by the way, the sustain on this bass is really nice. B string. That is, of course, your single coil mode. Little demo there, both pickups. Showed you my favorite tone. I'll show you this voicing switch again that I was telling you about. So I have it in the uppermost mode, which I think might be classic. Again, I'm not sure. I just know it's got more mid-range than the others. That's the uppermost one. If you switch it down to the middle, to like a funk scoop setting, see how much more treble and like glassier it is compared to the one I just had it in. I don't slap much, but I mean you get the idea. Whatever. Anyway, you get the picture. Especially if you add bass to it, you can get a really nice, very glassy, modern, maybe Marcus Miller tone, but more so just any of the modern slap players of today that have a really nice, glassy pop. Brian Bromberg, for example, he does use some piezo in his sound, but it's similar here. It's just I'm not big on piezo. That's a whole other ball game there. But and then if you switch down to the last position, this is supposed to be a little bit. It's not as scooped as what I just showed you. You can definitely hear it's not as glassy as the funk setting, because the funk setting is. Versus the, what's it called again, their full range tone. It's a little bit, I guess you could say this is the flat frequency. They call it the full frequency. So maybe that's what the bottom position is, like a flat frequency. And of course, back into the middle is the scooped setting for funk. And then my favorite setting on top is, it might be more of a frowny cue. You bump the mids closer to the top, you got your top position. The bottom position, full range or flat range, and then scooped in the middle. And that's all in single coil mode. And I have to reduce the gain on this GoPro, slipping into dual coil mode here. Yeah. So what we will do, put the pad on there. So we are now in dual coil mode. And this is much more of a familiar sound to me tone-wise for my Schecter basses, because they don't get the type, they can't get that single coil grunt that this thing gets, which I really love about this bass. But that's okay, because those are my gigging basses, cover band stuff. This is my gnarly rock bass. So this is closer to a tone that my EMG equipped Schecters have. But as you can tell, more of that modern tone. I prefer that. I think it's a really nice, kind of a blank canvas. It's very midline. A lot of people will say, oh, it's sterile, or there's not much character to it. Exactly. You want to start from a sterile, like flat standpoint. An uncolored, crystal clear, can get any kind of tone type of canvas. Like Nathan East, why he's so successful in the studio, his bass sounds crystal clear. He can get any tone because his tone starts out like this. It's crystal clear. That's why I like EMGs, I like Fishman. It's a really nice crisp sound. You can mold it any way you want, regardless of what people say. And of course, finger placement, whatever. But in dual coil, controls and everything work exactly the same. You're just utilizing both coils from both pickups instead of one coil from each pickup. I'm not sure what single coils are utilized in the pickup in that mode, but got 2 on per pickup now. Both pickups. Right off the bat, you'll notice it's not as, I don't want to say thin, but it's not as defined or as glassy as single coil, or as like maybe as high MIDI. This has got naturally more low mid and less high, but it's still perfectly effective. So this is a thicker tone by nature. As again, you're utilizing both pickups, or both coils per pickup. And of course, neck pickup. Again, I've got really super low action. Right there, you can see it's just hovering above the frets. I like that clank. You can set it up however you want. But the bridge pickup. You get the picture with that one. And again, it's a nice, really nice burpy tone, just not as refined. It's more of a serious sound to it as opposed to parallel. It's just a thicker sound. It's by no means undefined. Again, it's that nice defined hi-fi sound. It's a thicker sound to it. And again, the bass and treble work exactly the same for dual coil mode, and the voicing switch as well. I've got it in that same up position with, I think, a mid-range bump. Whatever that old riff is from Metallica, I forget. I haven't played that in forever. Anyway, it's not about the technique, it's about the demo. That's the up mode. Middle, which I told you before was the scooped funk mode. Not as easy to detect there because the pickups are thicker in the dual coil mode, but back up to in the up position, to the funk scoop position. You can still tell there, you're definitely taking out some of that mid, and you're getting more of the bass fundamental and the glassier treble. Just gives you more boom to your slap if you want to do that. Boom to your slap. If that's your thing. If you don't want a nearly as glassy, like slicing slap, put it in dual coil mode, you're good to go. Last one, of course, which is that even frequency. Versus like the funk one. You can hear there's automatically more mid-range. Well, I'll hit a string open, you can tell the difference. Funk setting to the bottom position. Definitely more. Of course, there's the most in the up position. From bottom, middle, to up positions. Bottom, middle, up. Definitely more high mids in the bottom position. I think there's a little bit more low-mid grunt to the opposition, which is why I prefer that. Kind of best of all worlds. Again, to me, it gets that Spectre tone, or as someone else said when they heard it, it's like a thicker, darker sounding Spectre. I'm not sure. I love the way it sounds. You can look at my other one of my other videos. I do a full cover of that song, that Alice in Chains song, "When We Die Young," and I think it sounds freaking fantastic, especially with no external EQ whatsoever. Just this, my rig that I'm using right now, the cheap microphone, my phone, this little roll and go mixer. That's it. Nothing fancy. Yeah, the microphone's just a cheap Behringer. It's like 38 bucks. So, and that's why there's a little bit of hiss. Forgive me. Anyway, I'm trying to see if there's anything I'm forgetting here. We did single coil mode. I showed you both pickups, treble, bass. The 3 voicing switch. Showed you, of course, yeah, the single coil is push-pull function. And let's see, I think that's about it. There's not much else. If I did miss anything, let me know. And I did look on the inside of the cavity. It's nicely done. It's easy to work on. It doesn't have one of those annoying circuit boards blocking all the pots, where everything's connected to one board. Just individual pots, easy to service. And then the only thing to be mindful of with this bass, or any bass with the Fishman setup, it's cool that it is a single 9-volt battery. You don't have to deal with 2 for an 18-volt. So if you have like a battery checker that you can plug directly into the bass, like that Macmillan battery manometer that they sadly discontinued, you can check just by plugging into this one because it's only got 1 battery. That's cool. The one thing, the only con about this bass, in my opinion, is that, or any bass that has the Fishman setup, it does like to eat batteries, but I got a number of months out of this one. Granted, this isn't my gigging bass, but I got a number of months out of this one, and I just replaced the stock battery past weekend. I believe Fishman, they do offer a battery pack that you can put in the cavity, and that gives you, I think, 200 or 250 hours of usage time. And of course, it's a battery pack and it's lithium, so it's rechargeable. It takes like an hour or 3 or something to get a full charge, whereas the regular alkaline battery is like 60 hours. Drastically less, but again, like I said, unless you're gigging this thing all the time, you shouldn't have a problem. Or just take a battery reader with you. Just plug it in, it's only 1 battery, get the readout. If it's getting low, just screw the cover off, pop a new one in, screw it back on. Oh, and also the cover has threaded brass inserts, so you're not going to strip any of the wood changing the battery. I think we got everything covered, and that should be about it. And by the way, if you're curious, I think the only thing I forgot, the size of the frets, they are extra jumbo. So they kind of feel like almost like a scallop feel, but it's nothing too crazy. Feels great. It's a 16-inch, or almost a 16-inch radius on the neck. So it's kind of flat. It's on the flatter side, but it's got a perfect amount of curve to it where your hand won't cramp from being completely flat. And of course, it's a 35-inch scale. If I've missed anything, let me know. Other than that, happy playing. I'll catch you on the other side.